WoW has had some really bad systems introduced to the game over the years, but there is a system that was added that I want to talk about today that I think competes as one of the possible best additions ever. Let's talk about Jewelcrafting. The Burning Crusade expansion seemed to be the king of simple additions that changed the game immensely. I know this is rather cliche, but Leonardo da Vinci claiming that, quote, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, end quote, really is something designers should keep in mind more often. So what is Jewelcrafting and why does it work so well? The primary principle behind Jewelcrafting is to create an extra layer of gear customization alongside Enchanting. Certain pieces of gear will now also have sockets that can be equipped with gems in order to provide additional stats to those items. If Blizzard was to leave the system at that, it would still be a really good profession added into the game. In fact, the Final Fantasy XIV materia system is pretty much that, exactly what we just went over. But no, this was 2007 Blizzard, the beloved, the adored, still that really cute person in high school that everyone looked at. No, this was the Blizzard that gave us something really special. They gave us that hot, smart, and sexy system for all of us nerds to gawk over. The most fundamental benefit is that Jewelcrafting is a player profession and gems are player crafted. Many different types of gems can be made, providing a range of different stats and values. The first point is key to an MMO, since there is an option for player customization, where control is given to the player, and the in-game economy is stimulated by you guessed it, the player. When you look at something like the Azerite Armor or Netherlight Crucible, these methods of player progression do nothing to encourage any form of socializing in an MMO. Crafting professions, on the other hand, by design, require player interaction. Well, unless you go through BFA and Legion route, in which case you just make everything valuable BOP, which just makes them have no value at all. At least in TBC, this new profession allowed for players to decide what stats they wanted and make sure that gold doesn't just disappear into the ether of a vendor's limitless pocket, but rather players provided valued goods for those interested in a deterministic power progression. Blizzard added another intelligent layer of design with the socket bonuses. Items with sockets would now also have a socket bonus if you matched the correct colored gems to the associated slots, red, yellow, or blue. Oh yeah, gem colors! Each gem color would hold certain associated stats, red being primary effective stats such as agility, attack power, dodge, spell power, etc. Yellow gems would contain utility stats such as hit, haste, crit, and defense ratings. Finally, blue gems, well, blue gave stamina, spirit, MP5, and spell pen, and I have absolutely no idea what the correlation to these specific stats are, so we're gonna label them blue and leave it at that. So let's take a look at an item like Aran's Sorceress Slacks, for example. Here we have an item with 3 sockets, a red, a yellow, and a blue, with a socket bonus of 5 spell power. So if we wanted to achieve that socket bonus, we could use a red spell power gem, a yellow hit rating gem to get closer to hit cap, and finally maybe a stamina gem for some survivability, since we're early on in the gearing process, let's say. First cool part about this system is that you aren't tied and required to use the correct colors into the correct sockets. Instead, you're rewarded for matching these sockets, which tends to round out your character better. Even more instead, if you'd like to do your own thing and just stack more spell damage and run 3 red runed living rubies, you can do it. And you'll lose out on the socket bonus, but gain more spell power overall, just at the cost of other stats. How about we find out that you're pretty close to hit cap? Well, this item might just be a great way to stack 3 yellow hit rating gems in order to close in on that threshold. This is something really cool about the Jewelcrafting system, and this balancing act that Blizzard really nailed. You see, there's a benefit, there's a reward for following the system, but yet, to get this socket bonus, the balance is so great that obtaining it is worthwhile, except for when it's not. And yet both paths are very much viable and in some cases optimal. What's really cool here is that each time you decide to go for the socket bonus or not is completely derived from this new piece of gear you've obtained and its relation to all of the other gear you already have equipped. And that constantly changes. This means that receiving a new piece of gear may not have a worthwhile socket bonus, but perhaps getting new shoulders afterwards makes the socket bonus on the original item beneficial now because the new gear changes your stat layout of the entire character. As new rewards are earned and your stats change, the thresholds you're aiming to hit vary, and this requires you to adapt pretty regularly. For one, this adds value to jewel crafting as it will always have a place in the market. Second, this means that best-in-slot gear lists can exist as theoretical perfection, but the path to get there is incredibly fluid and dynamic. Third, all of this exists within the player's control and not a result of a randomized function. Now let's take this a step even further and really appreciate how truly clever this jewel crafting system was. If you're familiar with the system, then you may think that I'm maybe overselling it, or over-analyzing it, or over-explaining it, but really take a step back and think about how clever multicolored gems are. Along with red, yellow, and blue gems, there are also multicolored gems. In short, these are gems that offer a combination of 2 gems worth of stats, just with a slight reduction in value. Introducing orange, purple, and green gems. Orange gems are a combination of red and yellow, green gems are a combination of yellow and blue, and finally purple is a combo of blue and red. Also, each of these gems can work towards completing the socket bonus for each color the gem could represent. So let's use our same legs again and look at another way we could socket this item. If the socket bonus is worth it, but we want to prioritize our throughput, then let's throw a spell power red gem in the red socket like we did the first time. Next, let's throw in an orange veiled noble topaz for some spell power and hit rating. And finally, let's put a purple glowing knight's eye in the blue socket for some 5 spell power and 6 stamina. This is another way to hit our socket bonus while also keeping us relatively rounded. You may argue that this could be seen as non-optimal due to a DPS typically needing to prioritize throughput, but across an entire set of gear, especially during progression, balanced stats can be the deciding factor on whether or not you die to Gruul Shatter, for example. In these 2 examples, we've taken pure gems, which gave us a total of 14 spell power, 8 hit rating, and 12 stamina, or by using multicolored gems. It's now 24 spell power, 4 hit rating, and 6 stamina. You increase your raw throughput without being a glass cannon. Or if you really just want hit rating or some spell power, just throw some solid colors in there and forfeit the socket bonus. Genuinely, a massive variety is typically seen as viable and optimal, depending on the pieces you have. Thus, what typically happens is a gem combination is typically only optimal amongst that snapshot of gear you have equipped, or if the socket bonus is just extremely good or extremely poor. This feeds back into how obtaining gear can be dynamic, thus you're continually reacting to your equipment, thus buying gems, thus funneling more money into the player economy. The final and most divisive piece of this puzzle is the meta gem. Yes, another colored gem. For some of you who've maybe played WoW later in its life, you may be wondering where the heck all these colors are coming from, because all you may know is prismatic sockets and prismatic gems, but trust me, TBC Jewelcrafting especially used to be way cooler than what it is today. Meta gems though, some people love, and some people really hate. Personally, I believe that meta gems are the keystone to this gem pyramid. You need it, it's required, and if you work around it, or if you build towards it, then you can reap some great rewards. Meta gems go into the meta socket, which is found on helmets. These gems are incredibly powerful and are typically worth 2 to 3 gems alone, but they come at a cost. Let's take a look at the Bracing Earthstone Diamond. It's a powerful meta gem that provides 14 spell power and 2% reduced threat. This is really good, but you will only gain its effects if you have more red gems than blue gems. This isn't too hard to hit, but there may come a time where your stat requirements lead you down a path where this condition can't be met. So, you may end up using something like the Swift Starfire Diamond, which provides 12 spell power, but also an additional minor run speed increase. If you're a Warlock or Shadow Priest, for example, this becomes really good since your mobility is pretty bad. This now provides players another metagame, no pun intended, where your gems react to your current gear and stats, and your metagem reacts to your current gems. That or you take control over the situation and just perhaps build around the selected meta gem you desire. Jewelcrafting ended up being one of the coolest and best systems added during the Burning Crusade. Honestly, I think back of how great it really is, and there's probably more I could still dive into this video. And I think of the problems that Blizzard tries to solve today, and I think of this alternate universe where the Azerite system maybe is a bit more deterministic, and you can pick and piece together and gem in and out different traits and different powers depending on what other pieces you already have versus what pieces you're getting. That actually doesn't sound so bad. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I've been Zabrexia, you've been great. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up button. If you didn't like the video, hit the thumbs down button and let me know I sucked. Besides that, thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more WoW in general stuff. It's coming. A lot more is on the way. See you in the next time. Bye-bye.